I have written many musicals, but this is my first Broadway debut. I've been thrilled for months, and I just can't wait to share my baby with the world. But I'm very nervous to see how the audience reacts, and I keep sweating a lot.
I've been married to Bialystok. I'm Idina Mental. I've been married to Bialystok for the last 6 months, and it's been marital bliss. It was a storybook romance and quick wedding because I knew he was the one. I'm so excited to be collaborating with my husband and have a special speech prepared for him that I'm going to give at the opening night party.
I'm the top critic in New York City, and everyone wants me at their opening night. I am notoriously tough on the new musicals, but agreed to come tonight as a favor to Bialystok, who requested my presence.
Colin is one of the best casting directors in town and has a reputation to uphold. He's known for casting the best of the best, and this production is no exception.
Bialystok and I go way back, and this is your 5th show working with him. He always casts me in the chorus, but it's steady work, and I appreciate it.
I have been a Broadway act for many years and are thrilled to be playing this role, which you know will be the highlight of my career this far. It's a real star vehicle for me. Plus, I get to shoot a fake gun, which is something that I've always wanted to do.
I'm so excited to be backstage with all my idols. I've been looking forward to this show for months and couldn't wait to see it. I even booked a backstage tour to be able to meet Idina Mental. This is the best night of my life.
I've been Idina's agent for the last 5 years, and I've spent tireless hours building her career. I'm excited to support her on her opening night.
This is Detective Drood requesting backup on Broadway. I was attending opening night of the new musical, Murder in the First, when shots were fired just before curtain. Suspects are still backstage at the Billboard Theater being held for questioning. The deceased was readily identified by suspects and fans as none other than big-time Broadway producer, Mr. Jack Bialystok. The cause of death is determined to be a gunshot wound in the back. There are no eyewitnesses to the murder, but many prying eyes on the body. I'm about to take statements from suspects who are all quite perturbed by tonight's happenings, many of whom think the show must go on. This is simply speculation, but I'm sensing that the deceased may not have been very popular with the cast and crew. One of you killed him before the curtain would rise, but who?
I tried to get away with nothing. Hi, as most of you know, I'm Billy. I've worked very closely with Bialystok for over a year trying to get this show off the ground, and I'm devastated right now. I was pacing around backstage trying to get rid of opening night jitters when Bialystok met his tragic fate. He will forever be the man that gave me my Broadway debut. Wait, does it still count as a debut if the show doesn't happen?
As I'm sure you all know, I'm Idina Mental, star of stage and screen. I was in my dressing room pulling on my wig when I heard a gunshot. I ran out to see what the commotion was all about, and that's when I saw my poor husband. I'm devastated, and I want to see justice done to whoever did this. Opening nights are supposed to be fun, and this is such a tragedy. But the show must go on, right?
Good evening, everyone. As I'm certain all of you know, I am one of Mr. Bob Blandley's theater critic extraordinaire. I'm rather shocked at tonight's events and do hope we can conclude this quickly so that I may be on my way. My husband is waiting for me in the lobby, and he's rather impatient. We were just about to take our seats when the gun went off. Or I assume that was the sound we all heard.
I'm Colin back. The man behind the magic, if you know what I mean. But no, really, I cast this show. I'm quite impressed with the quality and of the talent we are able to bring to the table. Too bad this evening is ruined. I just took my seat when the murder took place.
A stealer, and I'm an alcoholic. Oh, wait, wrong crowd. Is the show still happening? Did they call places? I was just at the ballet bar, practicing. Anyone have any coffee or water?
Wow, geez. Not really sure what to say here. Mr. Baileystock was a class act, and I can't believe someone shot him while he was taking a quick nap on his equity cot. He must have done something really bad to deserve that, but of course I wouldn't know.
Hi there. Wow. I can't believe I'm really here with all of you. This is a dream come true, minus the murder. I'm honestly just a fan and somehow just got lost backstage when all of this happened. So please go about your business and I'll just watch. It's like being in a real murder mystery.
You?
I like that shirt.
Does it look familiar?
She's my biggest
It's
fan.
Jill.
I love Megan Phan. She's my biggest fan. Let's pose for a selfie.
How do you do, darlings? My name is Ivana and I am Idina Mental's agent. I was here tonight to cheer her on and very much looking forward to tonight's opening night party, which I'm assuming has been postponed. I was bringing back some flowers to Mrs. Mental when I heard a loud noise. What a shame. Mr. Bialystok always knew how to throw a great party.
It has come to my attention that we have a murderer in our midst. After learning a little more about each of you and your whereabouts at the time the shot rang out, I'm confident one of you murdered Mr. Bialystok in cold blood. Many of you have motives to have done so, but which one of you got to him first? Could it be his beautiful new bride? Or perhaps a deranged fan who wandered backstage? Many of you have been working on this show for months, even years, and it's been ground to a halt due to a shot in the dark. Many of you stood to benefit from reviews and royalties, so why would you shoot the man behind all of your success? What did you have to gain? Or lose? Well, the jig is up, because I found an important clue that will surely point to who committed this gruesome murder. On Mr. Bialystok's desk were divorce papers that were signed by Bialystok, but the signature of his new wife, Idina Mental, is still blank. Idina, you might as well confess and let us close the curtain on this grisly crime.
Oh, good. Is it true that Mr. Babelstock, Baileystock, whatever, gave you a note until the moment of he died? Must have really muffled your, miffed you enough to kill?
Well, you know, rewrites happen all the time, even during the previews. As a professional, I'm kind of used to it, that kind of stuff. I love getting feedback because every note is a chance to, make the musical sing. We just want the show to be the best it can be. Well, Barb, you and Mr. Bialystok have had a long time feud. You've never given one of his shows a positive review. Why is that?
true. I've never liked any of Bailey Stock's shows, but I was assigned to this opening and had to come. We just don't have the same level of taste. The gun is your prop in the show, and you took shooting lessons to prepare for the part. Did you load it tonight?
Absolutely not. I'm a method actor, not a murderer. I'm sure if you check my prop gun, it's filled with blanks, like every other run. Ivana, are the rumors true? Is Idina's mental your only client? Must be pretty important to keep her employed, huh?
Well, yes, I have trimmed down my roster to focus solely on my very best client, and that would be Idina. I want to pour all my energy into making her a big star. Well, how exactly does that make me a killer? Okay, Idina, it looks like Ballystock was ready to divorce you after only 6 months of marriage. That didn't last too long. Must have been a lot of drama behind the scenes. And I'm sure he had a prenup and you were going to get nothing. So you killed him, didn't you?
How dare you accuse me of murdering my late husband? He was my rock, my soulmate. He filed for divorce, but I didn't understand why. I told him I'd sign if he could only make me understand why. Megan, who are you and what are you doing backstage? How'd you get here?
Oh my goodness, I'm so embarrassed. I must have gotten lost on the way to the bathroom. It looks like I might have interrupted something very important. Don't mind me, I'll just listen. Sienna, you were up for the lead, but Ballystock could never hire you due to your unpredictable drinking habits. Are you drunk right now?
I'm not drunk. You're drunk. Drinking problem, shrinking problem. Yeah. So I had a few shots to calm my open night nerves. Colin, rumor has it Ballystock wanted to take your name off the project for some reason, and you're not credited in the program. What gives?
Mr. Babylstock and I got into a disagreement a while back. He took my name off the project out of spite and cut me from the program. But I am pledged. But I am plenty of Broadway programs, so don't really care that much.
That was certainly illuminating. Looks like there's quite a bit of drama going on backstage and behind the scenes, which is no shocker. You theatrical types are always so dramatic. But what could have driven one of you to murder? Was it blackmail? Betrayal? Jealousy? Greed? Sounds like Mr. Bialystock made a lot of enemies along the way to Broadway. Here I thought I was going to take in a nice musical comedy. Little did I know I was stepping into a drama the likes of which Broadway has never seen. Mr. Broadneck's been taking shooting lessons to get into character, while Caitlin has been sneaking around with Bialystock behind Idina's back. Sienna's drunk on opening night and not sober enough to perform. Some questions may be answered, but I'm left with even more. Like, whose script is this with death threats written in the margins? One of you wanted him dead as a doornail and kept your word. I believe someone should ask Billy about this.
Barbara Blandley, I saw you this evening come into Bilestock's office just 5 minutes before he was shot. You seemed enraged and slammed the door to his office behind you. Were you mad enough to kill him?
It's not what you think. I was miffed because he had stiffed me on a comp seat for tonight's performance. an opening night party. My very young and handsome husband, Bradley, was devastated to miss out. So I came back to ask for extra comp, which he gave me. Ivana, you and Miss Mental have been very close for years. Did she confide in you that Bailey Stocks had filed for divorce?
I am very sad to say that she did not confide in me. Perhaps she wanted to keep her personal life personal. But I have a question for Megan Phan. Something is not right here. The bathrooms are in the opposite direction. Who let you in here and why are you here?
You're right. I'm so sorry. I asked the usher if I could buy a backstage tour, and she let me follow her for $500. I know it was a little sketchy, but I'd pay any price for Megan's autograph. Billy, you mentioned that notes are common until after opening. I saw the handwriting on the script in evidence, and it was most certainly yours, Billy. And the writing said, dead as a doornail. Now, why would you write that if you didn't want to kill him?
Well, really, that was one of those last-minute script changes. Wait. Oh, it's hot in here. We were going to kill off one of the characters, Kathy. Her acting's just absolutely terrible, and so he asked me to do that. So I just wrote that in, dead as a doornail. Well, Matthew, Mr. Broadneck, I hear that you've been up for a role in a movie with a really close friend of Mr. Belly Stocks, and maybe you've been coming in kind of late and smelling of booze, and maybe you were afraid he was gonna throw you under the bus and maybe ruin your career.
Well, I'm up only for the role because Bailey Stock recommended me. It's for a part of a washed up old actor. So, well, I guess it's typecasting. I'm trying not to take it as an insult. Idina, I had a question. The night of the murder, I overheard lovers quarrel between you and Bailey Stock. He was enraged because he discovered that you were sneaking around behind his back with none other than Billy Bergman. Did you kill Bailey Stock out of the anger and fit of rage?
Like I said, we'd been having trouble for a while. As you know, Jack was quite a bit older than me, and when Billy caught my eye, I just couldn't help myself. When he found out, that was really the nail in the coffin of our marriage. I felt badly, but we both want a divorce. I just didn't have a chance to sign the papers. Sienna Stealer, we all know you're a booze hound, but I happen to know you're a pill popper. And you were selling pain meds to some pretty famous folks. Maybe Bialystok found out and threatened to expose or fire you?
You know how hard it is to make a living on equity minimum wage? I got a doctor friend who hooks me up, and when someone comes knocking on my door in pain, I'm not going to turn them away. What kind of monster do you think I am? Bialystok knew about it, but he just looked the other way. Colin, this little tiff you got into with Bialystok was much more serious than you let on. I happen to know from a friend of mine who's a chorus boy that you've been catfishing actors for years, getting them to fork over thousands of dollars to audition, and you'd force them to make lewd audition tapes for you. Bialystock called you out on it, didn't he?
I may have gone fishing a few times over the years, but that's the dark part of my past. I swore years ago that I'd put away my pole forever and be a good boy. Bialystock wanted me off the project after one of my target contacted him about what happened between us years ago. So I said I'd leave the project, which had already been fully cast, and not a dime of payment. I don't see what all the fuss is about. I'm the one who's screwed here.
Well, well, well. Who knew there was so much tragedy involved in making a musical comedy? Each of you clearly had something against Mr. Bialystock, but which one of you loaded the gun? Colin was caught in a phishing scam, while Billy was busy making death threats thinly veiled as theatrical notes. And Anita faked being Bialystock's next of kin while playing the tragic victim. All of you deserve a phony award for your performance here this evening as innocent bystanders of a senseless crime. But before I cuff each and every one of you, I have another piece of evidence to share that will surely get our murderer to confess. I found the closing notice that Mr. Bialystock drafted this afternoon and had scheduled to send tonight right before opening. It looks like he dug himself into a financial hole too big to crawl out of and needed to shut down the production before it even began. Not surprising considering the turmoil with his investor relations. Which brings me to my final piece of evidence. Mr. Bialystock's most recent bank statement. It looks like he was writing a lot of checks over the last few weeks, several of which are made out to cash in the amount of $25,000. I wonder who he was paying off with all that dough. He couldn't afford to keep the show running, and closing this early would have been a huge problem for many of you. No fame, no fortune. All your hard work would have been for nothing, and one of you killed him before he could post the notice or alert the press. But which one of you has the most to lose if the production closed prematurely? And which of you knew about this? I have a hunch Mr. Broadneck has some explaining to do.
Hey, Megan, what are you doing back here? I saw you hanging around by Idina's dressing room, and I just assumed you're a friend, but did you kill Mr. Bialystock out of jealousy?
I'm a huge fan of Mrs. Mental and was hoping to get her autograph. I was on this tour, and the usher said I could go into her dressing room if I paid her another $500. So I did. I was just so caught up in the moment, and then Mr. Bialystock walked in on me, and oh my, I'm so embarrassed. Billy, last night, I overheard you and Bialystock in a screaming match over Idina, and he threatened to have you killed if you ever touched her again. So you killed him first, didn't you?
Everybody knows that Idina and I were having an affair, but I didn't kill him over it. I mean, people say things when they're heated, and I know it wasn't. He wasn't really going to kill me, and you know, and he just had quite a temper. That's all.
Colin, you're not telling the whole story about your catfishing days. I heard from a producer friend that years ago, when Bialystock was just starting out, you swindled him out of thousands of dollars as part of one of your schemes. How does it feel to be caught, hook, line, and sinker?
Ugh, fine. I swindled Bialystock out of a few grand years ago online, but I never got caught. When he asked me to cast the show, thought it was getting away with something, but turns out Bialystock found out that it was me all along those years ago and was looking for revenge. He hired me, and I did months of work and promise of a contract, which never came. he got paid back. All right. I didn't want him dead. Okay, I don't know.
Idina.
Look like Babcock or Babstock, whatever, Babstock. I'm having a time being level about 20 right now. Left you penniless. You must have access to his account statements and seen how he has been throwing money away in your money, all of your money. Okay. Did you kill him before he could? You were into a hole of debt.
I can't believe this. You're adding insult to injury? I married Jack because we were in love at the time, not for his money. He never shared much about his finances with me, but we were negotiating the terms of the divorce earlier today. I said I'd agree to a quick divorce with no publicity if he gave me half of his assets, whatever that added up to.
Okay. What?
Okay. I have a question, something to say to Sienna. I am ashamed to admit this, but from you, I bought a few pills over the last few months. Oh, my back is killing me, you see. But I noticed that they didn't work. You were selling me placebos, weren't you, Sienna? And were you also selling the same ones to Bialystok?
Okay, so I've sold a few pills to Bialystok every now and then. I always tried to give him the good stuff, but I did sell him a few placebos. He found out and was pretty upset, but he said his hay fever was better than ever, so I wasn't all bad. I told him I'd pay him back, and it was all water under the bridge. Ivana, Idina confided in me a few days ago that she thought you were stealing from her. She said Bialystok went through the contract and pay stubs, and you've been taking more than your fair share. Is that true?
I think that we all know that Bialystok, he was a liar. He didn't like to give me my 10%, so he was trying to get Idina to fire me by telling her that I was stealing. But Idina and me, we talked about it. It's all good. She believed me.
Barb, we all know what's really going on here, Barb. Bialystok was paying you off to write a good review tonight, but he didn't have the money. You needed money desperately because of your husband's shopping addiction. Face it, you're nothing and washed up sugar daddy, aren't you? Or sugar baby.
Billy and I are madly in love, and I can afford as many pairs of Gucci shoes as he wants. It's true that Bialystok tried to bribe me for a good review tonight, but I wouldn't take it. I have integrity, unlike other people. Matthew, you've been awfully quiet for such a loud mouth tonight. Something's up, and I know of what. Your agent, Robert Weinman, got wind of the closing notice, and I overheard him tell you about it. Rumors are floating around for years that you're a washed up has-been and you couldn't afford the embarrassment of having your show closed on opening night. So you killed him instead, and didn't you?
Geez, do we have to beat a horse? I'm not in my prime anymore, which makes live theater difficult for me. It's hard for me to remember my lines and all the blocking. But movies are different, and that's my plan moving forward. I didn't get wind of the show would be closing, and I honestly was so relieved.
I think it was Barb. I crossed up the things so I can't even read the last thing.
Barb Blandley, you think it was Barb?
Yeah, I'm picking.
Do you have a reason why you think it's her?
I just don't trust her.
All right. Billy?
Well, I think it's Idina, and I love you, babe, but, you know, I know you wanted to get rid of the old man, so I'm voting for you.
All right. Barb Blandley, who do you think it is?
I think it's Megan, but she's just a fan.
All right. Matthew Broadneck, who do you think it is?
I think it's Idina. She's just sneaking around, and she let's see, it was enraged. So yeah, I think it was Idina.
Not looking good for me here.
Nope.
All right, Ivana, my manager. I'm sure you don't think it's me.
No, darling, it's not you. I know you so good. I am thinking that it is that Billy guy. He's been acting all like nervous and wiping his brow and jittery. I think it was that Billy.
All right. Well, I agree with Ivana. I love you too, babe, but if you're going to accuse me, I'm pointing the fingers right back at you. Although, if it is you, thank you.
No problem.
Megan, my biggest fan. Let me see your shirt. Who do you think was the murderer? Oh my gosh, that's an amazing shirt.
Signature. I really think it's Billy. He's been wiping his brow. He's been jumping around. He can't sit still. It's got to be Billy.
Okay.
All right, Sienna, who do you think it is?
I think it's Ivana because she was caught by Broadneck on the paycheck stubs. I think it was her.
All right, it's time to read our final statements. Do we have a person who represents number 1 to read?
That would be Sienna. I may be a drunk, a pill-popping chorus girl, but at least I'm not a killer. Sure, I was petrified Beslick would fire me, or worse, rat me out to the cops over the pills, but I wouldn't kill him. He said he'd take what I owed him out of my next paycheck, and we were square. No harm, no foul. I didn't kill him. You gotta believe me.
All right.
Here's to you, baby.
Number 2.
Number two. Matthew Broadneck. I don't have anything against Billy Stock. He saw how much trouble I was having and suggested I get into the movies. The hours are long, but you don't have to memorize so many lines. And you don't have to pull out all the stops 8 times a week. I found out the show was closing. I was thrilled. I couldn't keep up with this, and I was starting to show.
All right, well, I'm number 3. It's true that I was not in love with Jack anymore, but I didn't kill him. Couples get divorced all the time, and it was clearly where we were headed for months. I'd fallen in love with Billy and wanted a quick and painless divorce, but I didn't want him dead.
Mr. Bielstock was a liar and a cheat. But he did not deserve to die. I'm glad that Idina is going to be rid of him, but I certainly did not kill him. I think it is time for me to find some more clients so that I am not so dependent on Idina.
Who's number 5? Anybody?
Yeah. Truly hated Mr. Baileystock with a fervent passion, but alas, I am not the murderer. He tried to bribe me to write a good review, and I cracked. I would have accepted it, compromised my morals, if he had actually had the money. It's probably a good thing he couldn't pay me, because now I can hold my head high. Poor Bradley is going to be so upset about his shoes.
All right, do we have a number 6, or is that our missing person?
That's your mi-
Such an awful night. I just wanted to get Mrs. Mental's autograph, and now I'm involved in a murder case. I knew I should have listened to my husband and said no, but I've never been on a backstage tour, and it seems so glamorous. Fred just won't believe me when I tell him what happened.
Number 9. Okay, you caught me. Baileystock stood in my way of my love for Idina, but I would never kill for her. I knew Idina would divorce him eventually and was just hoping it would happen before my next gig in Copenhagen in several months. I wanted her to come with me, and now I guess she can.
All right.
My past has finally come back to haunt me. Baileystock wanted me to pay for what I did to him for all those years ago. He hired me to cast an early production of his and paid me for the job up front. Then when I skipped town, it was all done online. I went by a fake name so that I got away with it. He tricked me this time and I cast the whole show, but now I'm getting paid and I don't get credit. I couldn't let him stiff me and certainly couldn't let him expose my dirty past and the rest of the industry. So I killed him. It was premeditated, whatever. I can't even say that tonight. Murder. And he deserved it.